so that you have the whole thing. Okay, so one of the things also that you're going to have to provide to me is with place is you're going to have a floor plan of the building. And in that floor plan, you're going to, you might get lucky and find a building that's got the floor plan available. Then all you'll have to do is add what you need to it. But the floor plan needs to include what you're going to do with each part of that building and the size of that room. For instance, what size is are your examination rooms going to be? So you need to label it, and you need to have, you know, like 10 by 10 numbers in there, whatever it happens to be, the area of the room. So you have to have an actual floor plan that shows how you're going to make use of the space. Okay, then the next thing is the pricing. What is going to be your labor costs? Can anybody tell me what FTE is? Have you learned it somewhere along the way? No, I can't see you, but I don't hear anybody hollering. So, okay, FTE is full-time equivalent. These are people, the labor costs of the people you have working for you full-time. And you know, labor costs include a lot of things besides just the hourly wage you're paying them. What is it costing you if you're going to provide insurance to them? You know, what are the other costs that are being provided, the benefits to these full-time equivalent employees? Those are one part of the costs that go into a business. The other part is overhead. Now, overhead is anything that you pay for that you cannot direct bill. So your overhead would be like your receptionist, for instance. You cannot direct bill the receptionist to the insurance company or to anybody, because that person is there as part of your general overhead. That person does not do patient direct tasks. So, you know, this is things like utilities. It's things like the receptionist, utilities, janitorial services. What are the things that you have to pay, rent, you know, that you have to pay regardless of whether a single person walks into your door to be treated? That's your overhead. And then you've got, what is your margin, you know, and your margin is what percent is coming in and what percent is going out, you know, what is your margin? And then this answer is pretty easy. How do you compare to your other service providers? Are you less than them, about the same, or do you charge more than them? That's a very easy answer, low, medium, or high. Okay, when you get to your service delivery plan, how are you delivering your service? Are you delivering it in a building where they come to you? Are you delivering it, let's say you've decided to create a new company that does strictly transport services from taking individuals to the hospital, taking individuals to appointments, maybe doubling. Usually that's a different service than what does the ambulance calls, but they're typically outfitted like some ambulances because they have the ability also to have wheelchairs locked down where the patient can be taken in a wheelchair wherever you're going. So there's, you know, what is your methodology? How is the patient going to get to you? Now, the clinical protocols, you're going to take each of the jobs that you designate in your business, and you're going to look for the clinical protocols for those jobs. And you can find this information under Glassdoor, under the Department of Labor Statistics. You can find, you can find the description of best practices there. You can do a search on Google and put, let's say, for instance, best practices for receptionists in a healthcare facility. And things will pop up for you. Same thing with clinical protocols. And most of you have experienced this in some way, but if you haven't, one person in your group should have worked somewhere where you talked about clinical protocols. But if you haven't, then you're going to have to look for it on the web. And again, Glassdoor is a great place for that, as is the Department of Labor Statistics. And there are other ones specific to the area that you're looking for that will have that information. The cost analysis, this is where you're going to show, and you're actually going to need to have a chart or a graph or something. There's something that shows the direct costs that you have and the indirect overhead. Again, indirect overhead cannot be directly billed. It's pretty simple. Indirect overhead is stuff that has to be paid irregardless of whether you have a single patient walk into your door. And the direct is money that comes in that can be billed directly to that client. Then the flow chart, what I want to see in this flow chart is an actual flow chart. And it's going to show what happens with a patient from the first time they contact you until they're out the door, finished. So it will look like, and there's a lot of programs out there that will allow you to do that, will create the flow chart for you. You just put in the data. Just be sure you're able to copy it or print it. Some of them will let you do it, and then they won't let you save it. So there's many free programs out there that allow that. And then I've had students that just do it themselves that are really good artistically and are able to build the little squares and diamonds and circles, whatever you want to use for it, to show what happens. For instance, if a person enters an emergency room, the first thing they probably do is go to the person at the front desk to check in. Then what happens to them after that? You may have two options. One is they go directly to triage, and then the other one is they go sit down in a chair, and then from there, maybe after they get called, they'll go to triage, or maybe they'll avoid triage. You have to look at all the options for your business as a customer comes in, or a client or a patient, and what happens to them as they travel through the service that you offer at the business. Okay, what are your full-time equivalent requirements? How many full-timers are you going to have? How many part-timers are you going to have? In order for the business to run and in order for you to be able to afford it. You might be bootlegging it from the beginning, and you may have to have one person doing a whole lot of wearing a whole lot of different hats. Then you would just have to put that down there. You're going to hire, let's say, a registered nurse who is also going to run the front desk. Probably that wouldn't happen, but that's an example. Or maybe they're also going to be the assistant to the doctor while he's doing the examinations, or whatever each person is going to be doing. Sometimes you might have to have the owner is probably a medical doctor. Maybe he's doing a number of the different tasks that he would have people to help him. So you bootstrap it right along the way. If you don't have a lot of money to start, or you're going to try to not spend a lot of money right off the bat and go into the hole. But you have to have rationalization as to why it's going to work, with just that few people. If you have a nice investment money to put in, and you can create these thoughts, but you have to tell me where it comes from. For instance, you want to open up a new doctor's clinic, and you're going to have 5 doctors in it, and each of them is going to put $250,000 into it to start with. Then you have a little bit more latitude on the requirements that you can put forth. And your space requirements, remember, you have to create a floor plan. And in the floor plan, you have to put the size of each of the rooms and label the rooms. Okay, so that's that part. Now, as you get on down to the human resources, again, this is who are your clinical staff? Not persons, not a specific person, but like one registered nurse, one medical doctor, one PA, whatever it happens to be. What are they? What are their positions? And are they full-time or part-time? And with the non-clinical, this would be like your receptionist, your janitorial staff, anybody that works for the business, full or part-time, that is an integral part of the business, but doesn't deal directly with the patients. And then the compensation, or the rate at which you're going to pay each of these people. And you're going to look, again, the Department of Labor Statistics, the Census Bureau, the Glassdoor. You'll find out what rate these particular job titles make in whatever place you're at, Southern California, Phoenix, Alaska, wherever it happens to be, that you're deciding to open your clinic. You have to look at the rate of pay that those people get, and you have to pretty much match it or come close to it or have a good reason, you know, as to why your rate is much higher or much lower. The benefits, you have to decide, are you going to offer benefits to everybody from day one? Or are you not going to offer benefits to part-timers, but you will offer them to full-timers maybe after 3 months? You know, what benefits are you going to offer? Are you going to have, and this would include not just insurance benefits, but what about time off, vacation time? How much vacation time will they get for every year they've worked there? Or maybe they don't get any the first year, or whatever you decide the benefits are going to be. But bear in mind that, you know, you have to offer benefits that people are willing to come to work for you. If you offer no benefits and pay just a typical rate, then they're going to go to somewhere that pays the same rate and they get benefits, unless they can't find a job like that. And then you can be sure that the minute they do, they will leave you. So you need to consider what is going to making you a good employer. And then the job description, you just describe the job titles that you just put above in clinical and non-clinical. You can get those, and these can be bulleted. They don't have to be written paragraph form. You can get those descriptions again from Glassdoor, from Labor Statistics, Census Bureau, any number of places, some of the medical websites, any number of places will give you job descriptions of a typical person in that position. And then the roles and responsibilities would be the roles and responsibilities at your particular business. So you've got a job description, but maybe some of the roles are a little bit different than what's in the job description. So in your company, what would their responsibilities be? Excuse me. And then the final part of it is balance and income statement and a cash flow statement. Now, these have to actually look like statements beyond the charts, like you have them, like an actual statement. Now, clearly, you're not going to know how much money you're going to bill. You're not going to know how much loans you're going to take out or expenses paid, but you will have a good estimate. And you can get those estimates by going out online. All the for-profit companies that are out there have their financials online. You can find them. And you should be able to find some sort of a company that's similar to yours. Even if you're a nonprofit, you would be able to see what their typical billings are, if they've had to have loans. Maybe you have to have a loan for a piece of equipment you can't live without. You know, like maybe some big type of laser machine or whatever it happens to be. Maybe you're going to have enough money from startup that you won't need to get any loans right off the bat. So that would be at a zero. Expenses paid out, you can look at what your salaries, at what your typical salary is going to be for the month. You will know how much your typical utility is going to be, how much your rent is. Those are all part of the expenses paid out. Startup costs, everything that starts to get that business going. You know, like getting the building, find out, you know, what the down payment is, you know, what your deposit is, find out what the monthly costs are. That's all part. And maybe the startup cost would be for the first 3 months surviving, because most companies do not get much business the first 3 months, you know, because you're kind of getting on your feet, you know, your people are finding out that you're there. So how much money is it going to take for you to survive the first 3 months? And then promotional expenses. What's it going to cost to advertise? You know, what's it going to cost to educate people, you know, about your services? All those different expenses, you know, there's lots of promotional things you can do to let people know you're out there. And then what are insurances going to cost you? You know, like for medical insurance, is extremely expensive for businesses, because if you're looking at your medical doctors have to carry all kinds of personal liability insurance, medical liability, all that. Now, some companies pay it. Other ones, the doctors have to pay it themselves. So you decide who's going to pay those kind of costs also. Okay, and that pretty much sums up the what's in the proposal. And I know it probably seems overwhelming at the moment. But once you get into it and you start divvying out the different parts of it, you'll really realize how important it is that you have an experience like this, because so many of the students tell me, well, I want to work for myself. Well, you can do that in healthcare administration. You know, you can be, you could provide a service. I know one lady who, that's what her company does. She and the people who work for her go and they actually are temporary healthcare administrators, and they might be temporary, like the head of the hospital, you know, because while the hospital is searching for somebody permanent, they may be replacing someone in the head of nursing or whatever it happens to be while they're searching for someone permanent. So in that situation, she owns her own business. And, you know, but so, you know, you need to know what it takes to own your own business. Also, some of you, I know I've had some of you tell me that you're getting this degree, but then you want to go on and become other things like anesthesiologists, but assistants, or I think I've had, I'm trying to think of some of the others, as students, X-ray as technicians, those kinds of things. Things that, you know, you're sort of working for yourself. And so, and then some of you may just veer completely away and want to open up a, you know, like a wellness or fitness center or whatever it happens to be. But you need to know all the things it takes to do that. And for the rest of you who want to work for somebody and have a, you know, just have a company that you work for, good, reliable company, you need to know this, because you may be put in a position for them to ask you something about, well, how can we save money in this area? And you will have had that experience. So these are some of the reasons that this is a really important project for y'all to do. Okay, do I have any questions that I can answer? I know you probably need to go into your groups and start talking about it more, but is there anything up front that you would like me to answer or elaborate on? Okay. All right, it is 8:38, so I'm going to send you to your groups to start working on this. I extended the contract until Thursday of this week, so y'all should be able to get that done. I'm going to bring y'all all back at about 10 after 9, because I want to be sure that y'all take advantage of this, because I know sometimes early in the morning it's easy to say, oh, we'll do this later. But I'm giving y'all 30 minutes now to take advantage of this time. I'm going to be sure y'all stay. So I'm going to take roll at 10 after 9 when I bring y'all back to the group. So I'm going to open up the breakout rooms and let y'all choose. It's your same group you've been in all year, and y'all can self-select to your group. And give me about 1 second here. Okay, y'all should be able to do it right now.
Professor?
Uh-huh.
It's not letting me join in my breakout room.
Okay, what room are you in?
Group 5.
Okay, I'll send you there. There you go.
I'm not able to join either.
Okay, what group, Angela?
I believe group 2.
Group 2, okay. You should be able to get there.